right, I will go to Facebook Live now. Hopefully that goes well, better than it went last time. Okay, we're streaming. And with that, good evening. My name is Marcia Ellison, and I have the privilege of being the president of the Fort Lauderdale Broward branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Tonight, we bring you our latest segment of Educating Our Community. We have some very, very important races that are going to affect our community, certainly for years to come and immediately. So we have to do everything we can to educate our community on who's on the ballot. I can tell you that our office has received numerous calls asking who the candidates are, asking for information on each of them, and should I say each of you. And so this is certainly timely because I know that you have done knocking on doors and done other things, but there are still people who are looking for information. So this, I think, will be a win-win for everyone. And with that, we will begin, as we do, with an opening prayer. And from that, we're asking Minister Bridget Edwards, our Religious Affairs Chair. Minister Edwards, if you please.
Madam President, let us go to the Lord in prayer. Gracious, eternal God and Father, we thank you for yet another day. Lord, we are grateful for an opportunity to gather once again. Lord, as we ask that you would allow your spirit to be in our midst, we pray, Father, that on tonight, that we might obtain, God, the knowledge so that we might be educated voters. We pray, Father, your blessings upon each candidate as they come forward. We ask it all in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Minister Edwards. We want to. I want to do something early. We are in the midst, and we've had just returned from National Convention, and there has been an outbreak. There was an outbreak last week, and we have been asked to get tested, which our delegates did, and we have tested negative. But much of our staff and members throughout have tested positive for COVID, and COVID-19 is still a thing. It is still out there. And so I'm going to ask Jazz if you'll just take just 5 minutes to share with us any updated information on COVID-19 and how it is affecting our community. Certainly, the winners of these races will carry our word back to Tallahassee in what is happening and how COVID is affecting our community. So if you would, Ms. Jasmine Shirley.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Pleasure to provide information and update of what the impact of COVID-19 in Broward County. We are still within this epidemic, moving very strongly with new variants for the most part that are out. These variants are sub-variants of the original Omicron, which have learned how to evade the immune system, as well as do damage to folks who have no protection whatsoever. The best defense, of course, is a good offense, which is to have yourself fully vaccinated and boosted for extra protection for severe impacts to the Omicron variants that we are now experiencing. So we urge people to continue with all of their mitigating strategies of wearing their masks, especially in an indoor setting where you cannot physically distance yourself appropriately, and in a crowded situation, especially if that is also in an indoor setting or an outdoor setting. We ask that people continue to wash their hands and get their booster shots if they have not completed their initial vaccine series, to do so with the types of vaccines that are out there, which there are 3 of them to choose from, and a 4th one has come aboard. We're asking that any persons who are 6 months of age or older get their vaccine series completed and their boosters appropriately in the time spans. As I indicated, the virus is still raging and it's raging more so in persons who are unvaccinated and have no protection whatsoever. But that does not mean that a person who is vaccinated, properly boosted, they may also be exposed to the virus and get infected with the virus again. However, that extra protection provides some semblance of not having a severe disease impact if you did not have that protection. So, and we're asking that for those who are exposed and or infected, that they also personally isolate themselves, quarantine themselves appropriately for the amount of time, at least 10 days, and return back to whatever their sense of normalcy is after testing negative within those 5 to 10 days of being exposed. As I indicated before, the pandemic is still raging in this country and across the globe with the variants. So this is something that we're going to have to deal with appropriately and protect ourselves, our families, and our loved ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jazz. So whoever our representative are going to need to stand toe to toe with this governor, whomever the new person is, or whoever the current occupant remains there, because we are certainly not, the state of Florida is not in the fight to save our folk. We'll just say that. And with that, let us begin. There are two representative seats that are going to be contested that we are dealing with tonight, 98 and 99. All candidates have been invited. I have heard certainly from the three that are here. We will start out with a 2-minute introduction from each of you. We will share that Mr. Campbell and Mr. Manley are in, they are opponents. Representative Hawkins Williams has a challenger, but I have not heard from her. And I do have our first vice president, Ms. Burrows, checking to see if she comes on as an attendee, and she would certainly be allowed the opportunity to join us if she chooses to do so. Just know that all of candidates receive the same invitation at the same day, at the same time, using modern technology, so no one person received it sooner than the others. All we can do is offer an opportunity for individuals to come and ask for your vote. We can't make anyone attend, but certainly everybody has an equal opportunity. And with that, we will start with Representative Patricia Hawkins Williams. If you'll take 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. I am Patricia Hawkins Williams, representative for District 98. I served 6 years in District 92. Due to the redistricting change, the number changed, so it's now 98. I have served the consecutive 6 years in the capacity where you have allowed me to be your voice. I have maintained relationships with some of the Republican Party. I have 2 master's degrees. I am a voice for children. I was able to stand on the floor and debate for gun laws changes. I was able to debate on the floor about raises for our teachers. Being a voice for the children, I am a foster parent, has been a foster parent. I am a director of a foster care agent. Being able to stand toe to toe and make sure we put measurements in place to protect our children, that's my job by all means necessary. I have been very open-minded, transparent for my district. My doors are open to agree or disagree. Having a conversation is what we need to do to make sure that we all understand some of the things that I may not see, may not know, and may not have heard, but being able to take the voice and the experience that you have given me back to Tallahassee and fight for the people that I serve. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. And let us now go to Representative Darrell Campbell. Representative Campbell, you are on the clock. 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I am Representative Darrell Campbell. I have been serving you for a whole 5 months and some change, and we're still counting. got into office during the special election and had to fight to get seated, and really didn't have opportunity to put in any bills or legislation. But what we did was we identified what my colleagues put in for my cities, and we fought to ensure that those get filled to its max capacity in appropriations. And so we successfully did that, and I'm so proud of that fact. I am a licensed clinical social worker, have been for 9 years. I also am a former legislative aide to the former minority leader of this seat, Bobby DuBose. And so I've had a joy in learning from him and learning my community in a more in-depth level that you don't typically see on a civilian status. But I want to continue doing and moving our district forward. Is definitely needed. I have the energy to do it. I've been doing it. I've been knocking on doors, not only for myself, but also for good candidates up and down the state of Florida. And so I'm looking forward to the next 10 years and seeing the changes that we are able to accomplish just from this moment. So thank you. And I look forward for a wonderful discussion.
Thank you. And Mr. Elijah Manley. Mr. Manley.
Awesome. Thank you again, Marcia and NAACP for having me and having this productive conversation. Elijah Manley here, running House District 99, which includes parts of Fort Lauderdale, Lauderhill, all of Fulton Manor, parts of Plantation, and Lauderdale Lakes. It feels like we were just here yesterday, a few months ago with the special election, but we're back again in this fight. What we've seen over the past few months, this out of control governor and legislature, rolling back our human rights, attacking the Black community, attacking the LGBT community, and just passing legislation that the majority of Floridians don't want. Being from this district, born and bred here, went to school here in Fort Lauderdale High School, Broward College, I know and understand these streets. I have the life experience, having been homeless, having seen poverty throughout this district in the inner city. I know what we need. I know what type of fighter we need in Tallahassee to get things done for us. And that's what I'm here to do. We've seen a lot these past few months. I mean, this session was out of control. The Republicans tried their hardest to distract us with red meat thrown to their base in forms of legislation. And what we need to do now as Democrats is fight back, protecting our voting rights, protecting the right to choose, which is going to be, on the ballot in this November, protecting the right to privacy, protecting the right to marriage. These are all things that are at risk this November, in this August primary, and in the next legislative session. And so we have to ask the true and real question, who do we want fighting for us and going to bat for us in Tallahassee? And I believe I'm that person. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And so let's talk about priorities. I'd like for you to share with us, and we're going to ask others if you have questions, please put it in the Q&A. If elected, give us your top 3 priorities as you return to Tallahassee or go to Tallahassee. Let's start with 98 with Representative Hawkins Williams.
Thank you very much. My top priority.
We're gonna do 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm sorry, I should have said that. I apologize.
Not a problem. One of my top priorities will be keeping kids safe. I was able to debate on the floor about the safety of our schools. As me being a director of a foster care agent, putting things in place, measurements in place to keep all our children safe will be a top priority for me. Making sure that we have money in the budget for our teachers. We demand a lot from our teachers. They give a lot, but we don't pay them their worth. So making sure that we have money in the budget to pay our teachers, to teach our children. Also making sure that we have adequate enough funding to keep education abreast. The public school system has been beating down on them, taking the money from the public school system and transferring it over, but making sure that we have money to make sure that all our children receive a good education, not just an education, but an education that will lay a solid foundation for them. I have been a ranking member on education appropriation for the last 2 years, so it gives me the experience to sit at the table and negotiate things that we want in the budget for education. So they have given me that seat. They have allowed me to speak my voice and be the voice of the people, and I would like to continue to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Manley.
I believe you were asking about top 3 priorities.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So there's a lot of priorities. The first one for me right now is going to be jobs. We need jobs in this district, and I know how to get them here from the private sector, from the public sector. And I believe strongly that we need a public works program in the state level to take that infrastructure money, $18 billion of it that we receive from the federal government, from President Biden, and put that money to work here. We have a lot of infrastructure needs in Fort Lauderdale and throughout Broward County. And those are hundreds of jobs that we could use right here in our district, putting people to work. The second thing is going to be healthcare. We continue to see the cost of healthcare rising and increasing. We see the price fixing and price gouging of the insurance industry and big pharma. And I know there's some work that we can do working across the aisle to pass legislation to allow for the importation of cheaper prescription drugs from Canada. I know that's something I want to work on. But finally, housing, affordable housing. Housing is the big issue of the day. Right now, it is too expensive here to live in Florida. And once again, South Florida has become one of the most expensive places to live in the country. And that's unfortunate. And there are a lot of reasons for that. There could be slumlords or landlords. But another important part of that is going to be the property insurance crisis that we're seeing and how homeowners are passing that on to renters. And so we need real rent relief. And I think our district will benefit from that tremendously. When I get to Tallahassee, that is something I work on. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Campbell.
And thank you for that question. My top 3 priorities first is mental health. That's my silo. That's my area of focus. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, so I'm counseling people who struggle with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, suicide ideations. And so right now, what we're seeing is not everybody has access to healthcare, and we need to create a way that everybody has access to healthcare. And so we're not seeing that right now. The second issue that I'm focusing on is education. As it's been stated already, we are seeing a shortage of teachers going into the next school year. We're also seeing that everybody's not wanting to go to college. We can utilize some of these apprenticeship programs, ensuring that these people who want to continue vocational schools and do vocational jobs, they can apply for apprenticeship where they're not only working, but they also have a job at the same time that pays for their schooling. And the last thing that I would be focusing on is affordable housing. Right now, we're seeing an inflation out this world, and we are seeing insurances going up. And so we need to make sure that people have a roof over their head. That's part of the mental health component. And so if you don't know where you're going to sleep at night, that causes a lot of stress on the individual and their family. And so I want to make sure that we are having buildings allocated to affordable housing.
Thank you. And so when it comes to SB 90, SB 524, we know that voter suppression bills are in full effect right now. We know that we went to court, there was much litigation and back and forth, but as we sit now, we know that's in full effect. So does your platform involve any type of plan to address the voter suppression that's currently in effect right now? So we know that SB 9524, the governor got what he wanted. However, we're being told that it's going to get worse come September. There's going to be other things on the agenda. If you are elected or reelected, what will your office do to try and turn back some of what has been the damage that has been done, or to block future voter suppression bills that will come forth? And we'll start with 98 and Representative Hawkins Williams.
Okay, thank you very much. working with our schools, making sure that our high school students understand the importance of them voting is something that I have spoke to the chair of the education department. Being able to make sure that there's a connection with our students and understanding the process and understanding the fight that our ancestors have went through to make sure they have the right to vote. A lot of the high school students don't feel that it's important because there's no connection for them. Putting something in place in the education system to make sure that our students learn the history. When we talk about some of the bills that has been put forth, the history of our people, making sure that they stand in line, making sure we have the ability to vote ourselves is very important. So being able to continue to put measurements in place in our schools for our students to understand the importance of them voting and the importance of them being connected to the community, the history of our ancestors that went out and vote is some of the things that I will continue to work for. Making sure that our voices are heard. I know you heard that there was a sit-in to shut down the Capitol. That was one of the reasons, because our voices are not being heard. It's like the numbers are 78-42, 78 Republican and 42 Democrats. Yes, we can reach across aisles, and yes, we can work with them, but things that they want to push forth, they just push it down our throats. So it's important for people to know that we all need to get out and vote, getting the information out to them, making sure our community, knocking on doors.
Thank you. Okay. Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Madam President. Absolutely. We have to continue educating our constituents. One of the things, one of the most powerful things that I've seen in my time since being in office is going to these doors, knocking at the doors, the eyes, the faces, just to continue to inspire them, to show them that, look, these are some terrible bills coming through the pipeline, but I'm not defeated and you should not be either. And I'm coming to your door to talk to you personally about the importance of voting. And that has inspired and engaged the masses, keeping them engaged. I qualify by petition because I want to make sure that people have a choice on who is on the ballot. I want them to make sure that they want me on the ballot. I want them to let me know that, no, I should not be on the ballot, keeping them engaged in the process, and then also canvassing, not just in our district, but in other districts inside and outside of our state. We have to reach the massive, and we got to do that by helping one another and being on one united, strong front. And so I've been doing that, and I plan to continue doing that as we go into these next stages and the next phases of next representatives entering this legislature.
Thank you, Mr. Manley.
I believe this was a question about voting rights. And so the question then becomes, why is Ron DeSantis and his extremist legislature of Republicans trying to restrict our right to vote? And the answer is simple. He wants to run for president. We all know it. Little Ron wants to.
That was not the question. Was, if you're elected, what would you do to turn back the clock on bills or laws like SB 90 and 524, which are voter suppression bills?
Yeah. Yes, I heard the question. And so what I'm saying is, we know this governor wants to run for president. And so what we need right now in Tallahassee is someone who's going to stand up to him. And so what we've seen with bills like SB 90 is rolling back the right to the ability for people to vote by mail. And so one of my priorities is making sure that people understand the rules regarding vote by mail. A lot of people, I was just speaking the other day when I was at a door, someone told me, oh, I thought they abolished vote by mail. And I had to explain to them, no, you can still vote by mail. You can still drop it off at a box, or you can still just drop it in the mail. A lot of people, there's a lot of miseducation, and I think that's intentional. And so part of also what I want to do to expand the rights for us to vote is we should have same day voter registration like most other states in this country. There should be no reason why your right to vote should be stripped away from you 28 days before an election. You should have the right to register to vote the same day of the election, like California does, like New York, like a lot of the other states do, and change your party affiliation and still be able to vote. And so those are some of the things that I want to do specifically on voting rights.
Thank you. And so in September, the vote by mail restrictions are going to be, there's going to be bills that further restrict vote by mail. And so what we rely on our representatives to do is the bills that we see, we know that 524 is awful. But when it started, it was worse. We know that 590 was awful, but when it started, it was worse. And we know that HB1, the anti-protest bill, which we are part of the litigation still in court, as bad as it is, it was worse when it started. So can we count on you to continue to amp up the fight to make sure that when these bills come, and the governor has already told people that he's preparing the bills, and comes committee time, they're going to be worse. The question is, can we count on you to stand in the gap to, I know that you're outmanned, we know that, but you can, if you're so inclined, to stop at least some of the foolishness that goes in there. So the question will be, can we count on you, each of you, to stand in the gap? And so we know it's ugly, but that's what you sign up for. And we'll start with Mr. Manley.
You can 1,000% count on me to stand up and be loud about this. The right to vote is precious. Like Representative Hawkins Williams was saying earlier, so many people died and fought for us, blood, sweat, and tears for us to have the right to vote. And so it's important that we protect this right for future generations, for young people, for old people, for all of us. And so when those bills start coming out, and I've heard chatter about some of the things the Republicans want to introduce for come committee and come September, we need to be loud. We can't wait to the last minute. We can't be silent. We got to be loud and start organizing now and speaking up. And we also have to vote. We'll know what they're trying to do in September, so that'll give us a head start on who to not vote for in November. And so you can count on me to be that voice come August 24th, when if I win this election, I'll be working hard with colleagues, with people in the party, with leadership to organize around this issue.
Thank you. Representative Hawkins Williams.
Okay, thank you very much. I have stood up, will continue to stand up. Some of the bills that has been pushed down our throat, we were able to, when you say they started out being real bad, we were able to put amendments in place to stop the blow. We have relationships with some of the Republican Party. We go sit down and have a conversation with them and explain how it impacts our community, how it hurts the people. And a lot of times you can twist their arm enough and they will change the bills just enough to get it across the table so that they have bipartisan support. But when it's a bill that's so ugly, so nasty, so hurtful, there's absolutely no, they won't even accept the amendment. So it's no in between for them. It's either all or nothing. And when it's all or nothing, just put it out, put it on, make sure your voice is being heard, get on the floor, talk about it, try to embarrass them as much as possible, because what they want you to do is have a conversation behind the scenes. When you're having that conversation behind the scenes, you don't know how bad that bill is. But when you can embarrass them on the floor, when they choose not to take an amendment, when they choose not to hear you, not to meet with you, these are some of the ways that you actually build relationships. Because if they know that you're going to stand up and you're going to speak out, they'll be willing to talk to you because they don't want you to point the finger at them. I have had the opportunity to bring money back to our district for the Urban League, $2 million for small businesses.
Thank you. Representative Campbell.
Absolutely. You won't just only hear me talk on the floor, but you'll see me on the front lines organizing with you all, pairing with other coalitions, getting people on buses, getting them in cars, getting them to Tallahassee, and making sure that their voices also are heard on the record in front of the representatives. I will also, I'm also right now working with our Stay Woke campaign, Stay Woke and Go Vote. That is the reason why we are holding these campaigns. We want to make sure that we are keeping the community alert as what's happening in Tallahassee. And so if you are unaware of the Stay Woke, Go Vote campaign, please come out tomorrow as we are having a discussion on women's rights and their rights to their bodies.
Thank you. And so with that, let's go to the people. Patty Lynn, life member of the NAACP, asks, do you support women's reproductive rights? And let us go on here. Representative Hawkins Williams, you have, but let us go and speak it to everyone. Reproductive rights and age-appropriate sex education in our schools. Let us start with, since you've already given the first answer in the chat, let's go on the Q&A. Let's go to Representative Hawkins Williams.
Okay, you want me to do the first question or just the question that about reproduction?
Just the one that Patty Lynn asked about.
I think our children need to be taught age appropriate materials in school. Yes, I do. I feel that when we keep our kids from learning certain things, we put them they're put in the dark. So if age appropriate materials can be put in place in school, it will help our community. Yes, I will support that.
And women's reproductive rights.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Campbell. Same question.
Yes, absolutely on both issues. Right now, our kids are being exposed to a lot of information with the technology that is well behind, well ahead of our time. I would support definitely education, age appropriate education, as well as women's right to their body.
Okay. Mr. Manley, same question.
Yeah, I think there's two parts of that, but the first one, definitely I support unabashedly the right to choice for women, reproductive freedom. That is a decision between a woman and herself, not between the government and the woman. Second, as it relates to education, I think that our children need to have these programs in schools to educate them, but also the right to contraceptives, which is going to be under attack within the next year by Republicans. And so we need to make sure that the right, having contraceptives available to the students in those schools, we keep that there and we keep educating them and having inclusive education, including sex education.
Thank you. Okay, this one is from Ryan Hall. I don't want to kill your last name. Wants to know, would you advocate arming teachers to protect children from violent attacks? There's an age-old debate about whether teachers should be armed or not. Let us start with Mr. Manley.
Absolutely not. I think arming teachers is a rabid idea. That is not something we should be doing in this state. And I'm really proud that the Broward County School District is standing its ground and making sure that we're not arming teachers. I think we settled that discussion a few years ago, and I think it's time for us to, move on to things that actually affect our schools. We're going to keep hearing about, arming teachers and all types of crazy gun laws, but in a time where we're seeing mass shootings and we're seeing schools being shot up in this state and across the country, this is not the time for that discussion. This is not the time for arming teachers, and this is not the time for permitless carry.
Thank you. Representative Campbell, same question.
Yeah, no, I would not support that. Teachers are there to teach. They are not there to be armed security. If we're looking for safer schools and safer things ain't put in place, we need to put back the social workers and the psychiatrists and the therapists back into these schools, and ensuring that our students and our teachers are within a mindset of feeling safe and feeling healing, and so that we can be able to talk down some of these crazy mass shooters that are entering our schools. So definitely I am for not having teachers being armed.
Thank you. And Representative Hawkins Williams.
Thank you. I did not and will not support teachers having guns for our classroom. We don't pay our teachers enough. We pile in additional stuff on to them. We make sure that they the new bill that came out, they want to tell them what to teach, how to teach, but you don't want to give them the resources that they need to do what they're supposed to for our children. Then you want to put additional burden on them to carry a gun to protect the children? No, we pay our police department to do that. No, we don't pay our teachers enough to have guns in the classroom. I would not support that.
Thank you. Let's go to my good friend from Tom Raines Lodge, Junior Warden Lender. He says that a segment of our community has lost faith and feels that elected officials don't value the community enough. What, if anything, would you do specifically for the Black community? And we will start with, how about Representative Hawkins Williams?
Thank you very much. This session, I was able to bring home $280-something thousand for data that needs to be collected in the Black community for women that has breast cancer. There has not been any data collected. They can put you in a category for all women that has breast cancer, but we as women our blood types are different in certain areas. Certain culture has different blood types. I partnered with Broward Health. I was able to have that put in the budget. It was approved. I also was able to get $2 million for small businesses with the Urban League. That will be able to help. I was able to get $1 million in one of our local areas against gun violence, stop the violence for guns for the youth. I was also able to do $200,000 for a historical cemetery in Deerfield. These are some of the things that I work for. These are some of the things that community leaders, cities came to me and asked me to make sure that we work toward getting these things done. I was able to get $1 million for Fort Lauderdale for infrastructure, for stormwater solutions. The Fort Lauderdale area that they speak in, when it rains, they're underwater. These are some of the things I work toward. I would like to continue to do so. It's a plus for me. I was also able to get money in the budget twice for L-timers for the city of Deerfield for their senior citizen program for L-timers.
Thank you. Mr. Manley, what would you do to restore the confidence of all the community?
Well, I can promise you for sure, if I'm elected, I will not disappear until the next election. I will be there. I think what people want to see is their representative in front of them. They want to see us out in the community. And I've done this outside of elections too. I've been actively engaged and involved in making sure people have what they need to live. And so, what I would do specifically for the Black community for this district, which I feel has been neglected for so long, we have a poverty problem and we need to address that. And that means we need to get jobs here. And so I feel strongly about having a jobs program. We need people employed, get them back to work. And I think that's what people are looking for. And they're not just looking for jobs, they're looking for good paying jobs. And so I think we really need that in the Black community, but we also need for our politicians to have respect for us. Whoever we send up to be the governor and Congress and all of these other offices, we need to make sure that they respect our community. They don't just disappear, come back every 2-4 years, vote for me. I will not be that person. I will be active, I will be engaged, and you can count on me to get things done.
Thank you. Representative Campbell.
Thank you for that question. So one of the things I'm going through right now, I'm currently a PhD student at Howard University, and one of the things that you learn in the PhD program is research, collecting data, having that information on hand. And so what I've seen in this session that I've experienced is that a lot of these bills that we're passing through, we're not adding no valuable data or no valuable research that is focused on the community and how these bills, these laws that we're implementing are affecting that particular community. Right now, we had a bill that affected juveniles and it caused them to stay in juvenile detentions a lot longer. But when I put an amendment for that research, it got blocked and got denied. And so I'm coming back next session to ensure that we add research to a lot of these components that are affecting Black and Brown individuals, so that as we're moving forward, we're getting this data back, and as new legislators come in, we can now tweak and change what is working and what is not working with valuable, good data in front of our assets.
Thank you. Broward County has one of the oldest buildings, juvenile detention centers in the fleet in the state of Florida. We certainly are in need of an updated facility, one that is actually suitable for a human being to be housed at as they wait to go to their hearings or trial, whatever the case may be. What if I know? Are you aware of the issue of the facility and its condition? And what, if anything, would you do to change that facility, or would you lobby for monies for a new facility or to upgrade the current one? What are your thoughts on what's happening with the regional juvenile detention center in Broward County, Mr. Manley?
Thank you for the question. I have toured that facility myself. I've seen the condition of it, and I don't think if most people knew how it was, they would want their children anywhere near that facility. I think it's time to shut it down and maybe build a new one. I think as it looks, as it is not humane to keep our children in that condition. It's too small, it's too crowded. I've heard of child abuse in there. And so I think what I'll do when I'm in this role as state representative is work with the executive departments to try to get that facility rebuilt. I don't think upgrading it is going to work from what I've seen. I think we need to start over. I think we need to migrate to a new facility. But also we need to look at different ways to get our children back into their lives without crime. And so putting them in those facilities, in my opinion, is not the right step, or a step in the wrong direction.
Thank you. Representative Campbell?
Thank you for that question. Being a proud member of the NAACP, one of the first things that I learned when I became the member years back was that how horrible the juvenile detention center is. And so one of the things that I've done in the process in building relationships while I've been elected is I've have a meeting with one of the representatives across the aisle where he has took on my challenge to come with me and tour the juvenile detention center down here, and vice versa. I would tour his juvenile detention center up there because he was adamant about how they are receiving great services and have all the resources available. So I believe one of the first things is having conversations with my colleagues across the aisles who think differently, and figuring out a way that if their resources are looking a lot better than our resources, how do we get that appropriations set for the detention center and allowing them to develop a new plan, a new project, in creating infrastructure that is healthy and healthy and allows our kids to come back to society in a mindset where they're still growing and not taking them a step back.
Thank you. And Representative Hawkins-Williams.
Thank you. I have had the opportunity to tour the center itself and making sure that I understood what was needed, what was there, following the lead of the executive director. Once you are elected, it's not, the money is there, but when we are in the process of asking for money, we have to follow the leads of the executive directors of these programs. We can't just walk in and say, I'm going to apply for this and I want to apply for that. If the executive director does not give you appropriation to put through and request fundings for these different things, the money is not there. Once the budget is set out, each department head has the opportunity, if a line item has been put in place for those types of centers, then they divide the money amongst themselves. I haven't had the pleasure of speaking with any of the executive director asking me to put in appropriation. I'm well willing to do just that, to make sure that we could bring the money back to Broward County if it's any way possible. And yes, I am willing to do that. I would like to do that, but I have not had the conversation with the executive director. I know that we do have other facilities that often get money, but nobody has approached me.
So, with that being said, there is a Broward work group. Judge Elijah Williams is part of the group. Um, our public defender Gordon Weeks is part of the group. He's one of the chairs or the co-chairs of the group. The county has also a partnership in that and have agreed to come to the table. So would each of you agree to work with the Broward work group to, as we work to get funding to get a new facility, other facilities along the Alpha corridor who are more friendly to the occupant in Tallahassee have received dollars, and their facility were a lot newer and didn't smell and had more up-to-date things in their facility. So will each of you, and I'll ask separately, agree to at least meet with the Broward work group as we begin to continue our efforts to replace our facility? And that will start with Representative Campbell. Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Representative Hawkins Williams. Yes,
Yes,
or no?
I stated before, my doors are always open to discuss anything, any ways of that bringing money back to Broward County. It will be a pleasure for me to actually present that for money to come back to Broward County to make sure that if we are going to have the kids in that type of facility, we have them in the best facility that there is. Yes, I'll be willing to do so.
Mr. Manley.
I second that. Yes, I will, and I will be willing to work with the working group, so to speak, as soon as this election is over.
Thank you. And so, when it comes to our children, Representative Hawkins Williams, you presented a bill, I think not this last term, the term before, regarding arresting children at a certain age. You worked through, and then it kind of rolled into something that the Republicans wanted to make it seem like that they had put forth this bill. Can you explain a little bit of what that was, and where do we go from here, since they bumped it to, I think, 12-year-old, and what would be next step?
Well, to arrest a child, we had nothing on the books. There was no age limit to arrest a child. And that bill came from when they arrested the 6-year-old when she was turning 7 because she was having a temper tantrum in school. And I don't feel that our children at that young age should be arrested. Representative Campbell talked about mental health. When we have children that their father is being arrested that night, their lights are off, they're not eating, their mom is working 2 and 3 jobs, they're under distress. So they go to school and to have them sit down and just be quiet and listen to the teacher. Sometimes we have to have mental health people in place. Sometimes we need to have social workers in place. That bill was wrapped up into one because the Republican Party did not want the state of Florida to know that they would give a law enforcement officer the opportunity to arrest a 6-year-old. That's why they didn't want that bill to be a single bill. It was wrapped up to one big package as it was like a birthday cake. Here, this is what you're going to get. It's either all or nothing. So they wrapped 5 or 6 bills in that one to make sure that it was not exposed the way it should have been. Where do we go from here? Right now, that bill has been passed. And I'm happy to say that, that was the first time that we have had a bill to pass about arresting of a child in decades. So for me to be able to put that forth and make sure that, I did all I can to get it passed. And at the end, it got to the last committee and they stopped it. And when they got to that last committee, they stopped it. The Democratic Party got together, the Black Caucus got together, and we worked together as a whole to have it rolled up into that one. I didn't care who got it passed, how it got passed, long as it got passed to protect our children.
Thank you. And so, let's talk. So right now it's 12. The representative wanted it to be 7. And so you gotta start somewhere. And I say that they rolled it in, and that's what they did, but they don't really tell the story on how it got to that space. And so, when children are arrested or they are placed in that back of the police car or in handcuffs, they're damaged. And so I would ask do the other candidates agree that children who are arrested, we're not talking about, felonies or with guns, or though we're talking about arrest of things that don't really require that for these younger children. And Broward County had plenty of them. Is that a priority of yours, of children who are basically babies being arrested, handcuffed, and processed through the Jack Center? And that would be, we'll start with Mr. Manley.
Certainly a priority to me. I don't think they should be arresting these kids. I think that's traumatizing to handcuff a child, put them in the back of a police car, take them to what is essentially a prison. I think that's very traumatizing to do to a child. So I think the law needs to change. I'm very glad that Hawkins Williams took on that. The Republicans like to take things and try to make it their own, but I'm glad that's a good start. But our children shouldn't be handcuffed, thrown in the back of a police car and in prison. And a lot of these offenses don't require an arrest. I think we have a problem with arresting young people for nonviolent offenses. And so I think we need to revisit our statutes and look at ways to room to change things and clarify things, because I think some of these offenses like trespassing, or maybe they had a temper tantrum at school, or very petty offenses, these children shouldn't be arrested for that. I think that's traumatizing, and that creates a record for these young people who are just getting their lives started.
Thank you. And Representative Campbell.
Can you repeat the question?
Children being arrested, handcuffed, and processed at a young age, we're talking babies primarily, is that a priority for you to stop these babies from being arrested, thrown in the back of a police car, given records at an early age? That was a priority for Representative Hawkins Williams, who filed a bill to finally put something on the books that would prohibit a lot of these arrests, were certainly unnecessary.
Yes, it's definitely something that I would stand up for. Obviously, being a social worker, we're always assessing a situation and how do you approach an individual, whether they're an adult or they're a child, in various situations. And one of the things that we never want to do is put an individual in a traumatic experience. And so we try to treat them with care, no matter what it is that they have done. And so I definitely see that this issue is something that we need to focus on, and that we need to come back and really readdress how are we handling this in a matter of care, and what steps and what added steps that we need to put in place to ensure that this doesn't continue traumatizing our youth.
Thank you. And so there was a question that talked about basically police misconduct, and how a great deal of the Black community is cautious when they interact with law enforcement. What would you do from your space as a Florida state representative to help ease some of this frustration? And we will start with Mr. Manley.
Definitely not an easy subject matter to navigate in Tallahassee, where there no discussion about police accountability is even allowed to be discussed, unfortunately. As a representative, I will be very loud about criminal justice reform, about how our community is treated in regards to policing, whether that's be traffic stops or that be, how we're convicted in a criminal justice system. I think part of what we need to do is on how we see the role of police in our communities. And I don't think, unfortunately, we give the police a lot of money. We're asking them to do more than they need to be doing in our community. They're not social workers. So what we need to do is we need to look for other ways to utilize that money in our communities, but also foster trust in our communities. And so in the role as a state legislator, what will I be able to do is I'll work with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I'll sit down with them and I'll say, hey, we need a state standards for law enforcement. This is something I'm going to work on. And we need more training. honestly, I mean, to become a police officer these days, I'm not saying it's easy, but you know, there are I mean, to give somebody a gun and a badge and authority over your life, and it's not enough training, in my opinion, for them to have that job. And so we need more training, sensitivity training. We need cultural competency training. But training alone won't cut it. We need to start prosecuting people who violate the law, who work in law enforcement. And so that means we need prosecutors who are tough, who are going to stand up. And I think we have a good one here. We have Harold Pryor, who's been on the front line of this fight. So we need to continue that.
Thank you. Representative Patricia Hawkins Williams.
Thank you, Marsha. I was 14 years old, my first encounter with the law. Walking down the street, no music playing, nothing in my hand. A police officer pulled up on me and ordered me to the ground. I stopped, looked around because I didn't know, I know I hadn't done anything. So I'm trying to figure out why is he ordering me to the ground? But because I wasn't moving fast enough, he shoved me to the ground, picked me up, threw me in the back seat of the car. I still hear that officer voice ringing in my head from now. I was 14. Call them out. When they're wrong, you have to tell them they're wrong. If you stand and do nothing, you're part of the problem. Making sure that they know that our community have somebody that's going to speak up for them. Going to the different meetings when the police department have these meetings. When they have community meetings, I make sure I'm there. I make sure I'm speaking up. And when there's a problem in our community, before it escalates to something so bad, let's just step in and see if we can stop some of these things that's going on. Because like I said, I was 14 years old and I still hear that officer voice ringing in my ear. I follow him on Facebook. He has no idea who I am, but I follow him on Facebook. And they're traumatizing the kids when they do certain things. Making sure that I'm a voice for our children is something that I'm very big and I continue to stand on.
Thank you. Representative Campbell.
Thank you for that question. You know, it's definitely not an easy solution, but one of the things that I definitely would be a proponent of is, in my role, is having conversations with our sheriff, sitting down, figuring out what has he seen from his perspective and what I've seen from my perspective, and then bringing in the community as well and let them sharing their own individual perspective as well. And so having these conversations, having officers engage in the community other than in forceful activities, allowing a relationship within there, and then also holding our officers accountable when they go above what their job duty requires them to do, is something that that I would do at my position, and ensuring that. But definitely, I would definitely have these conversations at my position, and really figure out and see how can we continue to have the community have more acceptance of officers being in their presence.
Thank you. And let me ask you, to each of you, why, and we'll start with 98, Representative Patricia Hawkins Williams, why should we re-elect you as opposed to electing your opponent to this seat?
Broward County has invested 6 years in me. They have given me the opportunity to be their voice, and there's no learning curve right now that needed for me. I can hit the ground running. I know the process. I have relationship with some of the Republican parties. I have worked alongside of them for the past 6 years. At this point, since the Broward County has invested in me, I have shown that I am true to my word. I have shown that I'm transparent about what I do. I have shown that I can bring money back to our district. I have shown that I have had bills passed, even to the point when I stood up on the floor to have a Florida statute change, what they were calling kids in the foster care system, special need kids. I was there by myself. I felt that way. but the stature was changed. They changed the stature from calling Black children, mixed children in the foster care system, special needs, to children that's hard to place. I don't have a problem speaking up for our people. I don't have a problem making sure that I work hard to make sure that you know that I am there for you. When I leave my seat, I would like to look at myself in the mirror and say, I have done the best of my ability to serve the people in the district, and I would like to continue to do so.
Thank you. Representative Campbell.
Well, that's a loaded question right there. As my opponent stated earlier, it feels like rendezvous all over again. We were just here 5 months ago, same candidates going at it. 5 months being in office, if we're expecting change in our community within 5 months, then you surely have mistaken what it takes to be a legislator in the Florida state office. Since I've been elected, I've been fighting to get seated. I've fought to find out where our pot of money appropriations were at, and I fought to push that to the full brim. I fought. I even fought on the baseball field. We won for the first time in 20 plus years as Democrats on the softball. And so, if you're sitting here and haven't seen me or spoken to me before, and you're wondering why should you elect me, because I bring hope, I bring passion, and I bring energy. And that's something, unfortunately, my opponent is unable to do because this is something that I care about, and I am a social worker in doing so. I want to continue doing that for another 2 years.
Thank you. Mr. Manley.
Okay, I think the question might be different for me as I'm not the incumbent.
Why should we vote for you as opposed to the incumbent is the question.
Absolutely. So I think, we're facing, first of all, just really dangerous and scary times in a state with the increasingly fascistic things the legislature is doing and this governor is doing. And I feel strongly that we need people who really understand what they're doing right now. As somebody who's been involved in this community, who live in this community, I've been on the front lines fighting for you for about a decade. I'm a young guy, but I've been involved for as long as I remember. And so I think we need people in Tallahassee who understand the issues, who can be a little louder about these issues. And, coming from my background, I know what needs to be done. This is not going to be, I'm not going to have too much to learn when I get there. I've been following the legislative process for many years. I've been up to Tallahassee, I've lobbied in Tallahassee, I've spoken, I've been in committees. And so right now what we need is, we don't need anyone who just wants a fancy title, I'm representative, this and that. We need someone who's going to go up there and work. And I'm willing to do that work. I'm willing to fight for my constituents. I've been doing constituent casework in my district for people who feel like they haven't been listened to by the incumbent. Just the other day, I helped somebody with their immigration, connecting them with the immigration services, connecting them with the Congresswoman's office on some of these issues. I helped someone who was having issues with DCF. And so we really need people who are going to do this, not when an election time is around. I don't want people being upset in 2 years and saying, wow, I voted for this person and they failed to deliver. I will deliver, I will show up, I will be loud, and I think I'm the best choice for that reason. And I don't think I'm the best choice, I know I am.
Thank you. Let's talk about the Broward County's tax referendum. Are you in support or against, and why? We will start with Mr. Manley. Yay or nay, and why?
Yay. I think this referendum is a good one. It's not the same as the bond program. A lot of people are mixing that one up. That's separate. That was about capital programs. This one is about teacher pay. And so our teachers are doing more than they're getting paid to do. They've been the true heroes throughout this past 2 years during this pandemic. They've been, educating our students, protecting them, keeping them safe. And I think it's time we reward them for that hard work. And so I support this referendum because it's about reinvesting in our teachers, reinvesting in our schools, because when our teachers win, our students win. And when our students win, all of us win.
Thank you. Representative Campbell.
Thank you for that question. Yes, I support the referendum. in that we are focusing on in a situation right now where we're seeing we're going into a school year where we're down a lot of teachers, a lot of support within the education system. And so this allows for our teachers to see that they're getting paid, that we're giving them their worth of being teachers. And so we really have a hole to dig out. Yes, on the back end, with taxes, we must must figure out a way. How do we do this without increasing individuals' taxes? I don't see a way out of that, but definitely investing into our community, investing into our teachers, investing into our county is definitely the way moving forward, and figuring out how we go about that is I think this is the first start.
Thank you. Representative Hawkins Williams.
Yes, I support it because it gives the teachers hope. We can say I thank you all we want, but that don't put food in their tables. They don't. We can say thank you all we want, but that's not helping them pay their bills. Putting this forth and getting it passed will show our teachers that we appreciate all they do for our students. And when you have a teacher know that they are appreciated for what they do, they're going to go that extra mile to make sure that these children are taken care of. So yes.
Thank you. One of the things that we have consistently fought for, and particularly in Broward County, is civil citation. I believe we have one of the, perhaps even the only county that really put forth the dollars to support a civil citation. And I didn't say diversion, which is post-arrest. I said civil citation, juvenile civil citation in particular, which is a pre-arrest program. And so it's been continually, we're trying to expand it. Shout out to Broward County and our current commissioner, Tori Austin, who has continued to fight to make sure that those dollars remain in the budget so that we can continue the good work here in Broward. But what are your thoughts on the expansion of juvenile civil citation in Broward County? Let's start with Representative Campbell.
I'm all for the expansion. What we are seeing is that kids that enter that receive these civil citations are more prone to rejoin society and not have the effects of a bad decision as a child linger within their life. And so I am most certainly a proponent for it and want to see this grow. One of the biggest things that we've seen from the data that we receive is that a lot of kids that actually get caught up with these civil citations are kids that look like me and you. And so I think that is a big help. And of course we don't know how the decision is made to giving these children civil citations or how they're pulled aside. But we do know that there have been times where it has been unfairly warranted towards Black and brown children. And so this is an opportunity where we can see change and can create a program that's expansion in nature and allowing them to continue to grow and be who they want to be and not have to worry about what they did when they weren't even of an adult age in their life. So I'm for it.
Thank you. Representative Hawkins Williams.
Yes, I support the program itself, and I feel that sometimes we just need that extra hand to make sure that our children will get the second opportunity. A lot of times you're young, you do certain things, you make mistakes, and if we can have someone or some program in place that will help them and guide them to the right direction, put them on the right path. If we can save one child, we have done our job. And yes, I think it's a good program and we need to continue to support it and expand it. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Manley.
Yeah, absolutely. I support expanding civil citation programs. When you're young, you make mistakes and they shouldn't follow you for the rest of your life. They shouldn't define who you are. Everyone grows up, everyone matures. And sometimes when you're young, you run into trouble. It happens to the best of us. And so I think these programs need to be expanded. We need to look for alternative ways to keep our kids away from the criminal justice system. You know, a second chance is a good way to do that. Some kids may need a third chance. I'm just going to put that out there. But we shouldn't be ruining our children's lives before they get started. Give them the chance to grow, give them the chance to learn, and just give them the chance to have someone there to help them navigate through life. Life is tough. Things are hard for young people right now in this environment that we're in. And so the best thing we can do is help them and assist them and make sure that their lives are not ruined by a mistake they may have made when they were younger. None of us were angels when we were younger. And I know I certainly wasn't always an angel, but I definitely think what we need to do at this point in time is expand those programs. So look for ways to do that on the state level as well. And federally, I just want to praise the Biden administration for what it has been doing on this issue in the Department of Justice. And I think in the state level, we need to look to them as well.
Okay, well, as far as the state goes, it will fall to you all in order to do that. And so we want to make sure that you are aware. Also, Promise program, which is different. Promise program, which is different, is also constantly under attack in Tallahassee. And so it is not what it once was, but it was never going to remain the same. It was always going to be a living, breathing document and practice. And so as it stands today, are you in support of the Promise program? Now, Promise is not civil citation and it's not diversion. Promise is school-based discipline program. However, the state legislature has made it into something totally different than what it is. But as it stands right now, are you in support of the Promise program? We will start with Mr. Manley.
Yes, I am. I've been supportive of the Promise program the entire time. I think it was a good step in the right direction. We had to start somewhere. We don't get everything right on the first try, but we couldn't continue having our children being arrested in these schools. And so I think, you know, it's important that we not only give these kids another chance, we give them the opportunity to grow and learn. And so I think that program was a good program, a good step in the right direction. Unfortunately, with right-wing politics, they try to find a way to divert the record, to lie, and to try to sabotage good programs that we're doing on the local level. And so I'll fight against that in Tallahassee.
Thank you. Representative Hawkins-Williams.
Thank you very much. Racism still lives. It still lives and it walks and talks right in our face. This is a program that helps all children, any children that have a problem that need assistance. We don't have money to get an attorney to go in courtroom and fight for our children. If this is a way that we can help our children, keep them out of the system, why not? That's why it's under attack, because they see that's a way to help the children. And it helps the majority of the children. I think, don't quote me on this because I don't have the statistics, but I feel that it helps the majority of the children that looks like me. I wouldn't have money to go get an attorney to keep my child out of the system. They don't need money sometimes. All they need to make a phone call. I just can't pick up the phone and make a phone call for mine. So if I can call and say, Marsha, I need my child to get in this program to assist them from having a record going out of school, I need this program in place. So yes, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. Mr. Kimmel, did you answer that question?
I have not.
Okay, go right ahead.
I'm definitely in favor for the program. Yes, we've seen how it has helped. Unfortunately, due to personal endeavors, it has been brought to where it's at. But I still see that there's opportunity and room and space for us to continue to build on where it's at and push the needle forward. And so I plan to continue to push it forward as I remain in office. As we know, behaviors is definitely a thing that we see in youth. I wasn't a good child growing up, but I know a program like that being how I was, would definitely have helped guided me and continue to address the issues that I was dealing with, whether they may be at home, whether it be maybe internally, and continuing to receive my education so that I can see what my light is and allow it to shine the way it is shining right now. So yes, I am in support of it.
Thank you. And so one of the audience members says, but Pinellas County is up to 96% civil citation. Broward County is at 87. And that sounds really good. Let me just tell you that our committee, the Circuit 17 Juvenile Justice Advisory Board, worked with the incoming state attorney to follow the Constitution, follow the law to create a civil citation program, because state legislators moved it under the state attorney's office. He did do that. It wasn't what we had hoped, but it was something more than we had when he arrived. But I can tell you that there are several police departments who are not following the direction of the state attorney, such as a Coral Springs, who could care less. And whenever they don't give a child who qualifies for civil citation, don't give them civil citation, even though they qualified, that child looks like me. I would say maybe less than 1% of the children are not Black who are being denied the opportunity. Sunrise is not great. Plantation refuses. Lighthouse Point will not follow the rules as set out by the state attorney's office.
Is it possible?
Coconut Creek absolutely is not. Let me mute you, Representative, while you can take care of your business there. And so we want to make sure that you know that those law enforcement agencies are denying children civil citation, even though they qualify. And these are trespassing, these are misdemeanors, and they have created their own SOPs to not follow the direction of the state attorney's office. The problem was state attorney office met with them in those departments and said, well, if you arrest them anyway, we are going to decline the file. That's not what's happening. And so we need the continuation from the state attorney's office to do what he said he was going to do in order to get up to that 97% or as close to 100 as we can of every child who qualifies for juvenile civil citation being given that opportunity. Shout out to David Holmes, Colonel David Holmes over at the Juvenile Assessment Center, who has changed his entire staff to make sure that a child, if they approach there from BSO land or City of Fort Lauderdale, that would give a child an opportunity to not be arrested or to essentially be unarrested, not go into that facility, but be given civil citation, because they do not want to ruin these children's lives. So it could be better. A lot more of us have to step up and know about it and follow the law and be about the business of saving all the children, even the ones that look like me. And with that, I want to offer each candidate a 2-minute closing. We will start with District 98, Representative Patricia Hawkins Williams.
Thank you very much, Marsha, for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this panel this evening. To the community itself, you have given me the opportunity to serve you for 6.5 years. You have given me the opportunity to travel back and forth to Tallahassee, being your voice. I have done as much as I can, when I can, making sure that relationships are built, making sure that my voice is being heard in Tallahassee, making sure my doors is open, making sure I communicate with the cities, and making sure that I am walking, talking in the community, shaking hands, and making sure that I keep my doors open to hear the community. I am a boots on the ground person. I like to make sure that I am in the community, hearing the people and making sure that I stay attached and not so much away from the people. I make sure that I speak to those that's in charge of different programs, make sure that I'm in place when I need to be in place. I would like to continue to do so. You have given me that opportunity, and I have brought money back. I have made bills changes into the laws. I have made sure that I am the voice for the people, and I would like to continue to do so in District 98. And thank you very much for giving the opportunity to do so. Look forward to you and giving me your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Manley.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you to the NAACP and the members of this organization. I applaud your willingness to be informed and educated on who is running for office. This is an important election year, and this is an important election for all of us. Knowing who is running to be your representative and be your voice in the Florida state government, it's important. And we're facing a lot of problems right now in the state of Florida. You might be asking, why is it so unaffordable to live here? It's too expensive to live in the state. We have problems with our criminal justice system, our water quality, the cost of housing, healthcare. And so if you want a champion in Tallahassee who's going to fight and go to bat for you every day, not just on these issues, but dealing with casework, dealing with immigration, dealing with Medicaid, dealing with DCF, dealing with all of those issues that affect you in your everyday life, bringing and making sure that the jobs are available here in District 99. I am your guy. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I've been fighting, standing on the front lines, not just when there's an election. I've been around. You've probably seen me at a protest or on the picket line where hardworking people, people who are fighting for $15 an hour, whether that be McDonald's workers or Starbucks workers. I've been there. And so I promise to be that voice for you in Tallahassee, to live up to the promises that I'm making. I will not disappear. I will not be like all of these other politicians who come and ask for your vote every 2 years, every 4 years. We need champions in Tallahassee, and I know that I'll be that one for you. Thank you for the time, and I hope to have your support.
Thank you. Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, NAACP. As being a proud member of the NAACP, I enjoy coming and showing my face to this meeting consistently, and not just around election time. My opponent has said about me and casework, and I just find it laughable that a social worker whose career is about casework and helping people, I just find that to be a difficult thing to grasp. But look, this is what I've done. I've been here. I've been fighting for you. I've been an aide for this district. I have not left. I'm still in school learning and growing my education, and I'm continuing to fight for you all. And I'm not here riding up as and tearing down people in leadership. I will be boisterous, but at the end of the day, you will know that my actions stand louder than my words, because I'm out here knocking on doors. I'm out here in the community, talking with individuals and learning how to improve my district and bring home money so that our government can function the way we see it to function, because right now we just do not have the numbers in Tallahassee. And I will continue to fight and ensure that we flip seats moving forward. And so I ask for your continued vote. Like I said, I've only been there 5 months. And so if we're expecting change doesn't come in 5 months. And so I ask for your support. I look forward to continue to being your representative. Thank you.
Thank you. And shout out to Commissioner Beverly Williams, my commissioner. Shout out to our my county commissioner, Tori Austin, who is certainly NAACP, as is Commissioner Williams, to Ms. Erlene Horn of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Make sure you tell Doctor that's how I said it. To Tom Rain's Lodge members that are on. Certainly our brothers in the struggle is who have offered up time to work. Our Black firefighters and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated as well, who are our continued partners as we continue to make sure that we wake up the Black vote, and that we know that it is absolutely imperative that our community votes. if you have any need, and I hope that you will, and I know that you do, for information regarding COVID-19, please make sure that you contact Ms. Jasmine Shirley. Jazz, if you'll put your information in the chat. Things are changing every day. We must do everything we can to save the lives of our community. It is expected that hospitalizations will go up. We are seeing more and more people with no mask. We are seeing more and more people getting sick. A wave is in and continues. So please make sure that you contact Ms. Shirley. She will give you all the updated information, talk to you when it comes to testing, when it comes to make sure that the vaccine who are available and what's the latest, as she works in this, doing this full time every day to make sure that we do everything we can to save our community. Those of you who are not members of the NAACP, we certainly ask that you join the fight for freedom. The only thing that's missing from this struggle is you. One of those people who I don't have to talk to is Representative Patricia Hawkins Williams, who is a life member of the association, and we thank you for standing with us as we continue this. And I want to make sure that I thank all of the members of our executive committee who have joined us and who continue to do this work. It is certainly a thankless job but certainly a necessary one. We also want to thank those members of Delta Sigma Theta who are on, who are also continue to be our partners as well. And for Mr. Scurry, I see a couple of alphas on here for you. So, you and I will be having a phone call very soon. I have been back and forth, and that's why I haven't returned. But we will get right on that, because we certainly need to know what's happening with our seats in our communities, and so that the people know who those people who are vying for our votes. As I said, many people are calling our office because they simply don't know who the candidates are. And we got to do everything we can along with you to educate the community to know who is going to be the better candidate, or who's offering up the better information that's asking for your vote. And with that, Minister Edwards.
Yes, let us go to the Lord in prayer. Gracious, eternal God and Father, we are grateful for what our eyes have seen and our ears have heard on this evening. Father, now we pray that you would allow these candidates to run, dear God, in integrity and to serve, if elected, with dignity. God, we pray now that the information, the knowledge that we have gained would help us to make the proper selection of those who shall serve. God, we pray now that as we prepare to depart from this call, but never from your presence, that you would allow your grace, your mercy, and your peace to rest, rule, and abide with these, your people. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, candidates, and thank you, listeners. And remember, peace and power. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.